We don't have an elevator pitch. We're like, just listen to us talk for 20 minutes and you'll understand why this podcast is called The Mindful Chaos. Yeah, this guy's a therapist, guys.
I just offended everyone.
You're gonna get canceled.
No, what? The podcast that serial killers hate.
Chaotic.
Okay,
Yeah.
and cut.
Do you have any New Year resolutions this year? Or are you planning to come up with any New Year resolutions?
I think so. I think I always forget to anticipate New Year's resolutions. Like New Year, Happy New Year, and then like everyone looks around and say, "Oh, what's your resolution?" And I'm like, "Oh, wait, crap! I'm thinking of it on the spot." And then it's always an amalgamation of everyone else's.
Like what? Like
if
I'll
people
be
are talking
healthier
about
this year.
careers, right? Like if like to talk about health, then I make a health one. If they talk about careers, I make a career one. And then,
So you just have like categories, like personal well-being, career goals. Mine every year now, I just say something like, I'll do better in my new year than my last year. Like I'll read more, I'll travel more.
Right. What are your resolutions mostly about? Is it like health, lifestyle stuff?
Yeah, both. I think it's become more and more generic. Like I don't do the really specific goals. Like I plan to travel 5 countries next year. You know, I just say I'll travel more. I plan to read 10 books, and then I'll just say I'll read more.
Read more.
Yeah.
Is that
then
from disappointment? Is that?
Yeah, like from
failing
before.
yourself.
Yeah. But like people say you shouldn't make attainable goals, right? But I feel like that's too much pressure. And then by the end of the year in December, I'll be like, shoot, I only read 1 book. Now I have 30 days to read 9 books.
Right.
Or maybe it's procrastination.
Do you feel that it's been more effective making more vague goals, or has it just been like helping you procrastinate?
I think it's been more effective making vague goals. I think when I make like those SMART goals where it's like specific, measurable, it gives me too much pressure. And I feel like every year I have to look back and be like, oh shoot, did I do this? And already living your life has a lot of pressures, and you already have so many to-do lists. I don't want another like overarching to-do list for the whole year.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I feel like at some point your overarching one can guide or inform your smaller ones, depending on what they are.
Yeah. I mean, that's why people make like 5-year plans, right? It's like a big overall goal, and then
I do that.
All those steps. But then do you do it for New Year's? Like a 1-year one?
No, I just do it randomly. I do it when there's big opportunities that come up in life. Like if I start a new job, I instantly set like a big 5-year thing for that specific journey.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense, right? Like those 5-year goals, you're thinking overall career, personal life, and you're already putting together the yearly, monthly, weekly goals that line up to the 5-year plan. But then the New Year resolutions just feel like, oh shoot, it's December. Like what you said, right? I need to think of something.
Right. Maybe it's the pressure of it being a New Year's resolution that actually sabotages it from the get-go. Like it's innately flawed as a system.
Yeah, because we're not planning for the New Year resolutions, right? It always feels like a last minute thing that you're like, I need to think of what I need to do better next year, or like how my next year can be better. But then you don't spend as much time to plan for that. Unlike all your other, 5-year, 10-year, or like even your next career move goals.
Oh, for sure. I don't plan half as much as that. I think I see a parallel between New Year's resolution now when we talk, and like the idea of some people thinking, oh, I'll start studying at 5:00, and then when it's like 5:03, I missed it. Oh, I gotta start on the whole number. So it's like I gotta start at 5:30 now. Or it's like you're just rushing so that you can, like, you can't start before or after. Like you have to just do the New Year's resolution like in December, like the last day of the year.
Yeah, I mean, like, who plans for a New Year's resolution in, like, June? Like, sorry, guys, I'm busy this weekend. I need to start planning for 2024. You do that at work, right? Where you're like, okay, we're planning for 2024 in, like, September. But then no one does that in real life.
And if you did do that, it wouldn't be a New Year's resolution, right? It would just be a Q4 planning.
Yeah, yeah. It'll just be
It's
planning
just
for your life.
Are we destroying New Year's resolutions as a whole concept?
I think so too, right? Like, what is the actual purpose of it?
I mean, I'm trying to think of the positive, but I think maybe it's like turning a new page kind of vibe. It's like, ooh, a new year, like this is the end of this chapter. But it's very conceptual. Like, it's so vague. Like, it's just Tuesday or it's just Wednesday. Great. Like, just if no one told you it's a new year, you would never know.
It's true. It's like your birthday, right? Yeah. You're like, okay, it's a new year. I'm going to do better. And then the day comes and you're like, I don't feel any different. It's not like all of a sudden I feel my age now. Like oh my God, 1 year worth of wisdom has been bestowed on my shoulders.
Suddenly downloaded.
Felt that level up like bing. Like that doesn't happen.
But that's a good point. I think as well that maybe it's that some people's New Year's resolutions is a destination. But then they never start the journey before then. So they're like, oh, I'm going to be more productive or I'm going to be more patient or whatever. But throughout the whole year, they never took baby steps towards it. And so it's like they're waiting the whole of next year for a moment when they suddenly will, oh, I'm more patient now than...
Yeah. Once that clock strikes 12, I will be more productive.
I think maybe it helps if we can think of friends who've actually accomplished a lot through New Year's resolutions. Yeah.
Honestly, I've never heard of anyone say, oh, I've completed everything.
Yeah, me neither.
Right? I've never heard no one talks about the success of a New Year's resolution, but everyone talks about making New Year's resolutions.
It's actually pretty disappointing or very discouraging because as I said, like, I set goals throughout the year. I write them down on a list. And then I actually have to cross them out when they fail. So I realized after like this year's goals, I had like a dozen. I had to cross out more than 6 of them. Like more than half of them I had to cross out. Yeah, like already. I knew by mid-year I couldn't achieve like more than half of my goals.
Could you share what they are? Like, are they like a lifestyle or career?
It's more career stuff. Ooh, let me just share my dirty laundry. No, you gotta have something to share too, because this is gonna be tragic, and you're just laughing at me. I achieve everything.
I achieve all my goals.
Okay.
Because I create them as I'm achieving them, and I'm like, tick.
Oh, bastard! You know, this is like you create your to-do list as you do them. It's like
completed.
So I used to sell plants. I still do sell exotic plants. And so in 2022, I was a bit overwhelmed. So my goal was to sell all my plants. I have like 150 at that point. Sell all my plants except for a few of my favorites. That did not happen because selling plants is not easy. And so I couldn't, to this day, I still haven't sold all my plants.
How many have you sold?
I had to cross that. I've sold half. So I still have like around...
But then you did like complete half of it, right? Maybe do you think it's because you crossed the whole thing out, that's why it's discouraging? But if you were like, actually I did 50% of that, so maybe for next year I can complete the other 50%.
That's true. So you're saying there's like a scalable model of resolution.
So we are creating SMART goals.
Yeah, we are. Damn, we just reinvented SMART goals. Do you remember your goals from last year?
I honestly only make New Year's resolutions as an Instagram post caption. So I don't actually write it down. I'm one of those. More drawings, new hobbies, new home, more family time. And then for 2022, I can't wait to do more. So specific.
Oh, it's do more.
Learn more and create more memories. I mean, I can't fail at that, right?
Create more memories? Yeah, as long as you're still alive. I think everything that happens is a memory.
Exactly. Everything is just more than the year before.
Do you remember what you meant by do more? Like, what does that mean?
Okay, when I said do more, I think I was specifically just thinking of doing everything that I did in 2021, but more.
Dang, that's
all the good things. Yeah, all the good things, I wanted to have more of them. And I think whenever it comes to me trying to think of New Year's resolutions, like where I think, okay, this year was pretty good, but I can't guarantee that next year will be just as good. And then I get into that fear of, if I wish for an even better year, like what if something bad happens? And then
like
will that
it,
have
kind of?
Yeah, and then will that have just, I don't know, cancel out my whole New Year's resolutions? Or maybe it's because I think of the resolutions as more like a wish. Like I wish this year could be more of
true.
right, like a
Do
birthday
you reckon
wish.
most people do treat it that way as well?
Maybe.
I feel like we do actually.
Yeah, maybe that's why like a lot of us don't actually write it down as like a goal or like as a to-do list, and it's more like of a, I wish this year will have nicer things, a better time. And that's why everyone is like, and even you, when you message, you were like, next year's going to be big. Everyone is like, next year's going to be big. Next year's going to be the best one yet. It's going to be my year. Next year's going to be my year. So it's kind of like a wish / manifestation, right? Like if I say next year's going to be better than last year, then it is going to be better than last year.
I think wishing, if it goes into manifestation, it's okay, probably. But if wishing stays in the wishing realm and doesn't move into manifestation or planning, then that's where dreams die. Like that's where wishes die. Like January 2nd or like the first week of January is where they die. Yeah, like just straight off the bat.
Yeah, just right away. You had one day to start acting towards your dreams and you didn't. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, that's what manifestation is like too, right? Like you can't just manifest something and then actually just sit at home and hope for it to happen. Like you can't just throw those thoughts to the universe and then not do anything about it. You still have to plan, take some steps, and then hope for the best.
Yeah, and I always thought that was part of the, like from a psychological perspective, that felt like what manifestation was really about, is how it affects behavior. I believe those people who say they manifested their reality are those who actually acted on it because they were thinking about it so much.
Yeah, I agree. So, I think manifestation is just having that North Star, right? Like you know what you want. And then so every action that you take after is one that you're guiding yourself towards that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess if people treated their New Year's resolutions like that North Star, then most of the lifestyle changes or behavioral things they'll decide on throughout the year, they will move towards that goal, right? Assuming a lot of factors here.
Yeah, I think so. But do you think putting it up in words, like you said, you have that list up, right? Like you actually wrote it out. And then do you have it on your wall?
On my phone. So it's a memo on my phone.
Then do you look at it like once a month, half a year, every day?
Yeah, sometimes. I look at it when I'm depressed and I'm like, oh great, I haven't achieved these things. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's even worse. You're just reminding yourself of even more failures when you're depressed.
I think though it is as well reality checking or like perspective taking, because I think it frames my problems or my mindset in a more temporal way. So it's like reminding myself, oh hey, like this is big picture stuff. Even if I'm failing, I have a big picture. And my mood today or my failure in this moment is not representative of my entire like picture of my life.
So when you looked at not being able to sell all your plants, you're like, that it's okay. That's not my life. I'm not a plant seller.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's one way to frame it. But then also I would be like, oh, why didn't I do that? Oh, it's because I've had other things to occupy my time. I've had better businesses elsewhere. I actually like tending to 100 plants. Like there's multiple reasons all the time that goals don't work out, and it's usually something that I can find solace in or find meaning in.
Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it, because then you're not just being like, okay, I didn't sell these plants, I'm a failure because I suck at plant selling, or my plants are not that nice, so people don't want to buy it.
Those are great negative framings, by the way. Like I could easily devolve into that on a Monday night, you know, like, wow.
Why don't people want my plants? They're beautiful.
Or am I just being very biased?
Is it me, or is it the plants that people don't want to buy?
Yeah. Oh.
I get really deep. No, but like sometimes when I look at my to-do list, I'm not as like optimistic as you, where I'm like, I set this one goal for myself and I can't even complete it. And it's like a
So you start to
simple
internalize
task.
that, right? But I think that's the thing, is like the weight of New Year's resolutions is often skewed towards disappointment because we don't internalize the success stories as much, because look at us, we can barely remember the last successful New Year's resolution we had. So that doesn't feed into our internal like self-concept. But if we look at the disappointments and the failed goals, like we could easily, off the top of our heads, come up with so many failed goals. And that's what we internalize, because it means that we are, well, evolutionary wise, it means we're geared for survival. We avoid disappointments and like failures and all that. We don't want to make the same mistake twice. But when we internalize all these mistakes, then it goes into how we see ourselves. It's like, as you said, like, why couldn't I get this small thing done? Am I useless? Or like,
yeah, it's true. Like we look at these mistakes and we're like, okay, next year we won't do this again. Like here are all these things that I won't be doing. But then it is hard to be grateful and be like, oh, look at all of these things that I did achieve. And then even if I do think of all the things that I achieve, it still feels really minuscule compared to that one small thing that I failed.
oh, true. Yeah, it does. I think there's two camps. In my mind, there's like two ways of setting New Year's resolutions. One would be make it more vague, more conceptual, so it's higher order, so that more things can fit into it and you can feel more empowered and like achieve. But then there's also the other camp, the SMART goals camp, where it's like make it very specific, but that also makes you very prone to disappointment. And it's right.
I think with the two camps, then I'm definitely more on the generic camp where I'm like, I travel more. And then and then at the end of the year, I'm like, well, I did travel more this year than last year. So my New Year resolutions did come true.
Right.
It wasn't specific, but it makes me feel better about maybe setting another New Year's resolution where I'm like, and next year I travel even more.
So do you actually in your mind have like some sort of metric of like the number, like more is a number, or is it a feeling?
Yeah, I think more is definitely a number when it comes to like travel, right? I'll be like, well, okay, 2021 I traveled 6 times, or during COVID I traveled 0 times, and then after COVID I traveled 1 time, then I traveled more.
Yeah, infinitely more.
Yeah, and then I feel pretty good about myself. Like, yeah, I did do more than last year. I think that's why I wrote I want to do more, so I don't constrain myself in the specific thing that I'm doing.
Okay.
But
right.
I can then make up all of these justifications that I did do more, fulfilled my resolutions, and it makes me feel better about the year.
Yeah. Good. You have a safety net for either case. Like, it's such a pragmatic way of setting your New Year's resolution. It's
Cover everything.
Built-in safety. So, when it comes to travel, right? Like, I love traveling as well, but I don't set like travel more. I think it's more like, for me, I'm more of a conceptual guy, so I'm thinking of the places I travel to, or the type of experience, or who I want to travel with, or like the style of traveling I want to be like. Rather than being spontaneous, I want to be more of a planner, or vice versa. So I think it's very interesting hearing the way you do it. It's like more is such an important concept for you, whereas for me, it's like diversity or vividness of experience.
I read somewhere on like even for manifestation, right? Like there's two sides to it too. Like one, people have to be so specific where they plan out, I want a big like 1,500 square feet house with white picket fence, a red roof, 3 windows, a blue door, and then that's how they achieve it.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Right? And then some people are just like, I just want a big house with a nice lawn and a backyard.
Right. That's more like me. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, that's more like me too. Then maybe I'm just even more conceptual than you, and you're still a little specific. For you, like maybe it just means that you have a clearer idea of what exactly the experience you want out of it. But I'm just like, let's just see what happens throughout the year, and then we'll call it a day. So then, should we be setting New Year resolutions?
maybe it's the bigger question for me, or the direction I would encourage people to think in, is how they make goals, like what types of goals, rather than yes, no, should I make a goal? It's like, if you know what works for you, what type of manifestation, wish / goal setting works for you, then maybe set your New Year's resolutions in that way so that becomes meaningful.
Yeah, and don't succumb to peer pressure when people ask you on December 31st, what are your New Year resolutions? And then you have to feel that pressure of making something up on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And should we be setting New Year resolutions in July? Maybe we have to start thinking about New Year resolutions in 2024 for 2025.
I think though, like on the opposite end of that, it's evaluations, like reassessments of your goal as the year progresses.
Yeah, and like self-reflection, right? Maybe the year end is a good time to self-reflect on, what happened during the whole year, like all of the good things you achieved, all of the goals that you wanted to achieve but maybe didn't. And then when you're thinking about the next year, then what other, maybe it's time to not set new year resolutions, but more like revise what resolutions you didn't complete.
That's good. I also, like, New Year's, sometimes I have this big poster and I write my values, like core values, and then I write the goals underneath each of them. And I kind of think back on whether I did any of those things, like, related to them over the past year. And then I can see, wow, I really didn't develop these values this year. I did.
I was lying to myself when I said I valued these things.
Yeah, because that's true though. Like, I value family or whatever, and you realize, well, I didn't really spend much time with them.
You're like, I value my family, and then this year I moved abroad, so I don't get to see them.
Mission achieved.
No, but I really like that, actually, putting like your values as that even bigger picture than your North Star, and then writing your resolutions or your wishes or manifestations according to your values, and then seeing if that lines up. I think that makes a lot of sense, because I don't think I do that with work. Like, I'll think about what my values are for work, what kind of company I want to work with.
Exactly.
And they have to match my values. But I don't do that in life. I feel like I kind of want to put down what my values are and then try to align something according to those values. Maybe not for just 2024, maybe as an overall. I think after this chat I will put together a list.
Right.
I don't want to call it New Year's resolutions. Maybe it's the naming of it. I'm gonna put together a 2024. But I'm gonna put the values, and also maybe just the different categories.